In this video, we are going to talk about the area of a triangle. In the parallelogram video, we mentioned that this outer line, the black line, solid line, not to be confused with this dotted group, is the perimeter when you add them together. So just as a rehash, we're going to do 7.9 plus 6.7, these two, plus 14.7, and that outcome is what we call the perimeter of the figure. Now in this case, without extending the math out or proving the math, we know that it's going to be 29.3 inches. And remember, always include your unit of measure. In this case, it's inches. But what I want to focus more on is the area. How do we find this space inside of that solid black line, outline we call the perimeter? We're doing the perimeter to show the difference between, one, how to find the numbers that go with them, and two, how to calculate the different numbers. So this is the perimeter, which is the black solid line around the outside. We are more interested right now in this area line. And the formula for triangles for area is going to be area, which is a capital A, equals, and my preference is written this way, base times height divided by 2. And some might say over 2, but as we know, we've got some new ways of reading and writing math as we move forward in our math classes in middle school. So we want to make sure you understand that that line is no longer just an over line, it is a divided by line, okay? That's what that line means when you have BH divided by 2. It's actually B times, when there's nothing there, that's a times or a multiplication. B times H divided by 2 is the formula. So let's identify our pieces first, okay? So when we talk about B, we're talking about base. So B equals the base of the figure. Now sometimes the base is on top, sometimes it's on bottom. I know that sounds really odd. In this case, our base is 7.9 inches. And I can tell that with confidence because the height that they are marking out is this one right here. Remember, we need to do straight and tall, good posture height. If this is going to be our height, our base is going to be perpendicular to that. It has to be that 90 degree. And that's how you decide which piece is going to be your base. So if for some reason this figure had been upside down and this part had been, say, up here, it would still count as our base. It is the side of the figure that is directly perpendicular to our straight and tall height, just like if you were at the doctor's office getting measured for your growth, okay? So here we're going to put 7.9 inches out to the side. Now H, as we just said, was height. And we want to make sure that we're talking straight and tall. We don't want something that's leaning. That's why we're not using this outer measurement of the triangle. We want to come out and they extend it to show the height of the figure. Okay? This is the height that we're going to use. So the height is 6.3 inches. Okay? And so since base and height are the only two things in our formula that we need, we can set this up, and I'm just going to move down here to show how it's written. It's going to be 7.9 times, and I'm using parentheses. I'm not going to use an X or a dot. I want to show some of that invisible math knowledge that I'm learning. 6.3 as our height, so base and height, all of that divided by 2. Okay, so this is our formula for area set up in the correct order so that we can do the math for it. Now, I know in the other one I didn't show any of the math for that particular math problem because there wasn't a lot to it. It was just one straight multiplication, and in this one we actually have some decimal work to do. I'm going to use a calculator for today, but it's always good practice as we go through this stuff to do it by hand if you have when you're doing it to show your teacher, okay? So to break this down and write it down for you. This top part, when we multiply 7.9 times 6.3, that is going to equal 49.77, okay? So this part has been used, okay? I like to cross it out when I'm done with the math so I don't get confused as to what I've done. But I have not yet used this 2, so I'm going to bring this 2 over, and it's still going to be the 49.77 divided by 2. When we do that division of 2, it's actually going to come out as an area of 24.885. Unit of measure is still inches, but it's going to be inches squared because we're doing inches times inches, which means we're doing 2 of them of the same thing. So it's inches squared. So our final answer on that area in doing the final division of this, once I used my calculator, came out to be this. Now this one's one, even as a teacher, I'd be like, yeah, let's use a calculator on that. It makes life a lot easier. But I do want, for homework and practice, I want you to get the practice in for doing that hand multiplication and division. So just keep that in mind when you're showing your work. I want to see the full multiplication division steps with your, carrying the zeros and things like that. I want all those details in. But this is the base foundation formula and how you do it to get the area of a triangle versus what a perimeter is.